are really large and they smell like rotting beef carcasses.
All right, Ted, welcome back to Depot Devoid for the first time, for the last time.
But before you die, there's something you should know about us.
Oh no, are we serial killers like all stepfathers?
No, I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate.
Former roommate's stepfather.
That's gonna land you in some hot water or a cold basement.
I would watch that movie. Um, so Ted, I just made you watch the 1987 thriller The Stepfather, starring Canada's favorite American actor, Terry O'Quinn, in what I think may be the first movie I ever saw him in. Uh, Terry O'Quinn is. I was looking him up on Wikipedia and just realized that he was actually born in the United States. I had just assumed that he was Canadian because, with the exception of Lost, which is the thing he's most famous for, uh, like every single thing I've ever seen him in and loved him in is totally Canadian. And so I just figured he was one of those Canadian actors that I see in everything because I watch a lot of Canadian science fiction, because that's where all the best science fiction is. And no, he's actually born in Michigan. But he starred in this thriller, The Stepfather, which I probably watched right around the time it came out on VHS in 87, 88, and loved it. It stayed with me forever. And what'd you think?
Well, I mean, honestly, with John Locke's accent, you didn't peg him as Michiganian?
I
Michigonian? Michiganian?
I will first say
Michiganese?
I do not have an understanding of a distinct Michigan accent. I just associate certain actors with what I know to be Canadian productions, and if the preponderance of my knowledge of this actor is Canadian, I just sort of make this leap. And I will say I don't think it's a bad assumption, um, because Canadians are, of course, our superiors in every way. So I was just granting him the honor of being a presumptive Canadian.
Presumptive or honorary? Are you granting him the
I
title? Do you even have that authority?
I do not, that's why I went with presumptive, because I definitely do not have the authority. Were I so endowed with authority, uh, I would just be rescuing Americans left and right and granting them Canadianness as quickly as I could. But we are not so lucky.
No, no, that's just not where we find ourselves lying currently. So what did I think? I enjoyed it. Uh, I have decided that this is actually the first in what became the series of Lost. This was a pilot episode. John Locke didn't die.
I mean, for the purposes of this movie, no, he didn't because he stars in The Stepfather too. Uh,
Exactly.
but certainly John Locke could be one of the identities that this fellow takes on. We
I mean, he does use different identities.
we I mean, one assumes that we never met the man. Uh when this movie begins, he has recently murdered his family, which consists of
Very recently.
very recently, a wife and a couple of stepchildren, and he is in cleanup mode. He is, well, not cleaning up the crime scene. He's cleaning up himself. He is changing himself into a new man and walking away from this life, which did not suit his needs or live up to his expectations. But ever the optimist, he is going to try again, Ted. He is going to put his chin up. He's going to get on that ferry. He's going to head across the water. He is going to throw a suitcase full of murder evidence into the bay and get on with his life.
I mean,
And that
that's what I have to do whenever I do these things.
exactly. I feel I mean this movie accurately portrays stepfathers as murderers. And uh I think that's why it resonated with audiences because we all know this to be true. And so when these events unfold, they all feel absolutely real and lived in.
All right. All right. I am absolutely loving this, but I am going to have to do just a little bit of backtracking for entertainment's sake here and remind you that I definitely was making some pretty harsh comments about Europhiliacs back in the Transformers series because there's a lot of robot piss. Uh, there's nothing really wrong inherently with Europhiliacs. Hey, you know what? It's the cleanest and nicest and funnest, I guess, probably way that one can have a cool little fetish. Stepfathers aren't always definitely inherently terrible. I mean, we got to take into account that, I mean, our dad isn't a terrible human being and he's somebody else's stepdad, right?
Well, look, I haven't spent that much time with him lately. So I'm just saying, like, we all show different parts of ourselves to different people in our lives, and there is certainly time for him to have been a serial killer without my noticing. Uh, Not in the same way, obviously, because he hasn't continued to change his identity and move on, which appears to be the primary MO of the man that we mostly know as Jerry Blake in The Stepfather. Um,
But becomes
I
John Locke later in life.
once upon a time he was Jerry Blake. Later, he will be John Locke. Whatever happens in between, I'm not sure. I haven't seen The Stepfather Part 2 since probably high school. Although I do have it on DVD. I've never watched it. I got it for the store and I didn't watch it myself. It stars the kid to whom he becomes the stepfather in The Stepfather Part 2 is Jonathan Brandis, that kid from he's in the Stephen King's It miniseries. He's like the main kid in that. He's Bastion in the Neverending Story 2. He is
From
moderately
Sequest
well.
and hung himself in the
Yes,
lobby of a hotel in
yes,
California.
yes. He is the kid in The Stepfather
Yep.
Part 2, and the mom
Uh-huh.
is Meg Foster, the girl with the really spooky pale eyes. She played Evil Lynn in the live action He-Man movie.
Oh, yeah, and she's also one of the best characters in They Live.
Yes, yes, her.
Her
She's the mom.
eyes. And I know that's exactly the reason why everybody loves her. It's not her terribly breathy whiskey cigars voice. It's not her
No, no, she
striking bangs. It's those crazy, amazing eyes.
I mean, if you got it, you might as well make it work for you. What I always was confused by is she has there was a time in the late 80s, early 90s particularly where she had a resemblance to Kirstie Alley, and I really felt like they should have played like a good and evil sister kind of
Oh,
combo.
wow. There was like a 2 year period where that was like
Yes,
actually
like if you had jumped,
really.
yeah, if you had jumped on that, like you could have made some sort of really interesting project that would never have worked at any other time.
Not at all. But there was a spot.
But yeah, but the what I do remember about the Stepfather Part Two is that it's mostly like not it's not memorable. It's kind of slashery. It's just not I guess the Stepfather was originally advertised accurately as a like a thriller, like a suspense thriller, and it didn't really perform. So then they started advertising it as a slasher in this kind of market where slashers were relatively big business because it had a limited theatrical run. And it was successful when they advertised it that way, and so I guess they leaned into it for the sequel, which is probably a shame because I think that it's a tight little thriller. It's not it has a couple of moments of you know sort of popping violence, but mostly it's just a thriller. But it's not even like it's quick. It hits the ground kind of running because he has already killed an entire family and is on his way to his next life. And so you immediately are just dropped into the story and you know exactly what's happening. And uh by the time you're like 10 minutes into this movie, it's already like well underway and you understand these dynamics and you see how kind of fractured this guy is. Terry O'Quinn is a great kind of he's a complete everyman actor. He's, kind of balding. He's not really handsome, but he's not off-putting. Like he's pleasant enough, but there's something kind of spooky about him. Like he's a
He also
perfect
looks like a
choice.
lot of people.
Yes, he can easily vanish
Yeah,
into
he's an
a
uninteresting
character.
everyman.
Yes, he's perfect for this role. And you see him in the beginning like he's got
Sorry,
like a
Terry.
head full of
I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings. If you ever
no,
had
I
to,
I think he knows this and has used it to his advantage for his entire career. I mean, this is who he is, and this is a great role for him really early on, that shows quite a range, honestly. And he's scary and not in an unbelievable way at all. He's a scary guy and he's fallen apart.
everything about that man in his acting is unforgettably forgettable. It's beautiful how well he can blend into a scene and do something that you don't even expect to happen, but then in the next moment be like, "Oh, wait, no, no, that was just my stepdad being a little weird. Everything's fine." Unforgettably forgettable. He wears a mask well.
He he really does. And I think that I think that people came to appreciate him later with some higher profile TV roles, even before Lost, with like he was in a bunch of X-Files. He had a recurring role in the that sort of sister show Millennium. He showed up in a lot of stuff that people I mean, I think people really celebrated him for, but this was like this really early, like beautiful starring role that I think some people had the good sense to go back and find. And then the next thing that I'm going to make you watch is also another Terry O'Quinn vehicle, which came out right after this, and different, different role for him. But you know what? Equally Canadian. We're all about Canada here, Ted, for
Well,
for the
I mean,
for the
obviously, we're all
foreseeable
going to have to
future.
go to Canada eventually.
Sooner or later, we should all be so lucky. Uh, Hopefully, Canada is not unfortunate enough to become part of the United States, which astoundingly is a thing that people are talking about, Ted. What has this fucking world become?
That sometimes you just got to strap on your helmet and realize that you're going to have to go for a ride.
I feel like I am not dumb enough to be part of the world. And and I don't mean that to sound vain. I just everything that's happening is so stupid. And I don't I can't connect to it in in a sensible way. It's so stupid, Ted. How is it so stupid?
Well, Matt, as stupid as everything might be, you're also in a really, really good spot to see stupid extra. So, you have parked yourself in a very, very unpleasant pocket for people who are of a community
Oh
that
boy.
doesn't necessarily agree with that or ally with their incredibly Christian
Ugh.
values of
I
love and hate.
I wish that their values were Christian. I keep hoping that at some point that might kick in somehow. I don't know how that works. If maybe they've got a Jesus infection that will at some point take over a sufficient number of their cells that they will become Christian instead of whatever it is that they are. Um, yeah, I don't I have a hard time talking about the world. I've taken part in two local protests. The fact that there has been a couple of protests locally is at least something. We'll see how long the ability to protest is maintained as a constitutional right, since apparently those are all just on a sliding scale now. Uh, but yeah, for now, trying to stay a little bit engaged, and I've shown up in my amazing mask a couple of times. It's been a blast. I sent you that picture of me looking very dramatic and regal up on the sculptured bench area at Max Square. I'm sure you're vaguely familiar with that, at least.
Uh, yep.
It's
So
that
let's
it's
clip
that
this one
space
out.
in front of Mamacita's.
Yeah, I know. Split, cut this little bit out. Or not, whatever. I was the first person to grow marijuana there, Matt.
The first person, meaning that a lot of people have done that.
I have no idea if anybody else ever did, but I know that the very first season when they finally actually built that son of a bitch, because it was just an empty brickyard for the longest time, and then they finally actually built it that year when it got put together. Me and a friend of mine planted 18 pot plants along the alley
Oh,
running side of the like elbow high freaking stupid railroad tie wall. And then when they were having their like we're actually opening the park party, they had a band playing there, and it's like, well, these plants are like 8 inches tall. We probably better go grab them. And I was living behind Safeway at the time, which is literally 1 block away. It's like the dentist college thing right there was Safeway. And the
I
house
re
that I was living at with mom and papa and Ian was just right there on the corner. Probably still stands.
I
Uh,
remember that. Where was? Do you remember what the address was of that house roughly? Because I've been trying to place it in my head because I've been there.
2014 3rd Street.
Okay, I want to find it because I
We,
remember
we
the
lived
house.
Yeah, we lived on 3rd Street in two different locations. There was 2014, which was the one behind Safeway, and 2713 North 3rd was the other one on the other side of the tracks, which is the
Yeah, I
one that
don't.
you came to when I was 13 years old and made my first
Oh,
Thanksgiving dinner all by myself because your mom
yeah.
went to pick you up in Portland, and I did all of the cooking.
Yes, I do remember being at that house that one time.
And it
Yes.
wasn't terrible, and I was 13.
Just remember that whole trip being very disorienting.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a weird time.
Yes. Yes, it was. That is the only time I was ever at that house too. And
I figured
yeah, I remember it most dimly.
it was an unpleasant.
Okay. I have definitely lost the thread.
Well, sometimes you talk about other things.
I do. I have been known to do that from time to time.
Stepfather.
Yes, the inevitability of murder is the topic of tonight's episode. The endless stream of bodies left behind by stepfathers across America. So yes, we are this is a movie about a serial killer with a very specific MO in which he uh insinuates himself into a pre-existing household consisting of a single mother and one or more children, and then he attempts to create for himself the perfect family. And when that doesn't work, he creates a new identity and moves on. But what's really interesting is that he is able to, in the midst of breaking down, he is still fully competent enough to establish his new identity in order to have a place to go when he kills his family. Because at a certain point, he makes that decision. This is not, he is breaking, he is shown to be breaking, but he does not snap and kill his family. He breaks and decides, okay, this isn't going to work. I'm going to have to kill them. And then he
Yep.
very carefully builds for himself a new identity, and then he kills them. And that's like kind of extra creepy.
He's done this before, but we already know that from the beginning.
And yes, and that's why I say we never meet the man, because we don't know who he was to start with, but there's no reason to believe that that curly-haired gentleman with the beard that we meet in the first scene is his original form.
Yep. Yep.
I'm I'm gonna
Absolutely.
suggest it ain't. And it's a beautiful little scene because it shows you what a successful chameleon he can be.
Yeah.
Um, it also ends up being his undoing because what ultimately happens is we this all starts very quickly and we jump ahead and now he has created his new self. He is already set up with a new family. He is moved in with this woman and her teenage daughter, and this is the family that's finally going to work, right, Ted? Uh,
Of course.
but see, that family he murdered last year, uh, the wife had a brother, and the brother hasn't quite let it go. And he's the one who has kind of put this whole thing together and figured out maybe what's going on. And he figures that in order to set up a new identity, this guy can only have traveled within a very specific radius in order to have quit his job, started a new one, and gone through like a couple of weeks of setup before killing his family and moving out. So he figures there's a radius in which to search to find who this guy is now. So he's not stupid. This guy is kind of he's onto it. He's figured it out. And frankly, the teenage daughter has figured out the same damn thing. She has figured out that Jerry moved to town right when this family got murdered last year. And so she is on to his ass too. Everyone is on to his ass. And unfortunately, he still manages to kind of wriggle free with the girl because she very cleverly writes to the newspaper to get a picture of this guy, and Jerry intercepts it and replaces it with someone else's picture because he knows she's fucking on to him too.
He's a
Love this
crafty guy.
girl. I like this girl. She is not stupid. She kind of lets it go pretty quickly because maybe she is stupid. She is a teenager. Uh, but it's not all her
Whoa,
fault.
whoa, whoa, Matt. You're probably alienating a large portion of our fan base here.
But once they all get murdered by their stepfathers, they're not going to have any energy left to come after me, Ted.
All right. I can't argue with that.
How do you like this girl? I like her a lot. I think she's a
She's
she's
pretty
a
good.
good final girl type.
Yep.
She was in another movie called Popcorn, I believe, a more like sort of standard slashery weird kind of. So I like her presence and I like her sort of weird kind of like Rocket J Squirrel voice that she has going on. I don't know what that's about, but I like it. I haven't seen her in a long time. There was a period where she was in several things in a row, and then I just kind of like I don't know. I don't know what she's doing these days. I guess I could look it up, but Ted, I'm not gonna look it up.
Man, there's no reason. That ruins half of the fun sometimes.
But yeah, I like her a lot in
So I
this.
ruined Sean Connery the other day. Talking to, actually, I think it was yesterday. I was talking to Erica about Sean Connery, and I was like, "Yeah, and he's like the worst type of person." She's like, "Wait, no."
But he's like, I mean, he's famously the worst type of person.
Yeah, but some people don't know about like his whole thing about
I,
thinking it's okay to hit a woman.
but I mean, that's like, I feel like I can't remember not knowing that. That's that's part of our culture, our shared heritage,
Yeah.
is that Sean Connery is a scumbag. Uh, you know who's not? Terry O'Quinn, probably. I hope he's not a scumbag. That would suck. Cause I like him a lot. Uh, John Locke is an interesting character. Um, I was not generally in love with that show, but but I liked his character. He was pretty cool.
I've only ever actively seen probably 1.5 episodes of the show.
We when Bill had his first shoulder replacement surgery, and I took like 3 weeks off of of work. And it was his dominant arm, so he was kind of down for the count. Um, and one of the things we did during those long recovery days was watch all of Lost, and it was all right. Some of it. Um, I I consistently enjoyed Terry O'Quinn's performance as John Locke. The show meanders a lot. It is the thing that I hate worst about science fiction television is when the show is really good at asking questions and like it has that sort of setup where like it's an unfolding mystery that is just like layers upon layers. Okay, that's cool, but it only works if I believe that you know what you're doing. And at no point did I believe that Lost knew what it was doing. And that was the problem, was that you kind of got the feeling that there was no plan. And uh that's a problem. It actually it could have been a fuck of a lot worse considering all of the bullshit that they did over the course of those seasons. But I mean, it was interesting. It was some there was some fun TV in there. And once the show started going really wrong and they were trying to rescue it, they brought in some of my favorite comic book writers to try to make things better. And that led to some cool stories. And yeah, I get what the appeal was, but I would definitely not have had the fucking patience to like watch that shit week to week. No. No, that would be a nightmare.
No, and I honestly, I Lost was one of the things that was ruined for me from listening to morning radio driving to work back in the days where I listened to radio.
Uh-huh.
And I learned how the series ended before I'd ever seen a single thing. And I also then later screwed up really bad uh, in that my daughter really got into the show and really wanted to watch it with me and was like, Dad, I want to watch this show with you. You should watch it with me. And I was like, I don't have any desire to watch that show because I know exactly how it ends and I am not remotely interested in it. I don't want to find myself getting invested in it. And I screwed up really bad on that because I
Oh,
could have I could have watched this show with my kid and instead I really had a real I fucked up dad moment. And
yeah,
I screwed up
ouch.
so incredibly bad. I I later I was texting Haley a while back, a couple of years ago, and was like, I really screwed up that moment because you know when you know you screwed up,
Yeah,
you gotta
yeah,
take care.
yeah.
I
And
had a failure right there.
yeah, that could have gone better. I did because I had the comic book store with the DVD rentals during the time that Lost was coming out, and so we had it at the store, and I watched some of that stuff on DVD as those sets were coming out, and it was interesting because I actually did watch that last season on DVD before, and when I watched it with Bill, I realized that I actually like the end of that show actually hit me completely differently the second time, and I I feel like I was wrong about how it ended, and it was actually better than I thought,
Huh.
which surprised me. But yeah, I feel like I was not paying enough attention because I had largely lost interest by that point. So that was on me. I was not invested. And so I had this very surface reading of what happened at the end of the show. I was wrong. That is not what happened. And what actually did happen was more interesting than I gave it credit for. I still, like they did not have any fucking idea what they were doing at the beginning. They didn't know where they were going. It was all making shit up as they went along. A lot of stuff contradicts itself and stuff gets dropped because it doesn't matter and goes nowhere. It's a bunch of dead ends. But overall, it's like it's imaginative and interesting. There's some cool performances, and it actually did end better than I gave it credit for. Uh, and one of the things that I would celebrate about it is that it made Terry O'Quinn a household name and face in the United States, which weirdly he hadn't been that much of before. Because he's awesome. I love him in this movie that we've barely mentioned. I don't have there's not that much to say about the Stepfather as far as I'm concerned because it's just really it's good. I don't have any real complaints about it. It's a quick little thrill ride. It's very small in scale. Like it's an intimate little thriller. There's like two and a half characters. And it's just like this guy goes crazy and tries to kill his family and it's a I think it's a real fun watch. And does it? I mean, did it sort of hold up for you, having not seen it before? Like I would probably be prone to being really forgiving of this movie, because I love it from long, long ago. But I feel like it works still.
It definitely works. It's a good movie. It's a fun movie, and it it's really interesting how it drops in while things are obviously already very much happening. It's not like it doesn't have your standard act one where you're building up. It's at the end of the third act of something that already happened, and then
Yes.
act one. So the pacing of the movie can fuck you up real quick. And it works for this movie. It helps with how disjointed it is supposed to feel.
I feel like it does. I mean, that scene could have gone really wrong, especially since like it might be off-putting since there's like you're literally you're starting the movie with like dead children on the floor in blood, like at the but it does a great job of conveying the cyclical nature of this crime without having to talk about it. It just immediately without any words. There's no dialogue at the beginning of this. This is all happened. He's alone. This is something that he's done before, and he's good at it. And you understand immediately as a viewer what is going on here and what's going to happen next. And the that pace, it doesn't let up. Like this isn't like a relentless thriller. It's not all balls to the wall. It's just steady, and it's there's an inevitability to everything that's happening, and you just watch like a couple of characters who get what's happening and they try to sort it out and they're foiled. It's a great use of a limited budget to tell a very engaging story that I wish had been celebrated as a thriller rather than a slasher movie, because then sure, because if it had been celebrated as a thriller, then the sequel we got would probably have been better and more memorable. Um, Not that this movie needed a sequel by any means. It has a fine conclusion. Things end quite satisfyingly with the death of the serial killer, which is how these things generally are supposed to end. Um, it's a satisfying movie, and um, it's a bit of a shame that if you look at the ratings for the sequel, it's significantly below this one. And then for some reason they apparently made like a direct to video third one, which I've never seen, which does not star Terry O'Quinn, but I believe uh posits that it is the same character, and I think forces someone to perform plastic surgery like the Joker. I'm gonna suggest that it may not actually be worth watching. Um Maybe. The second one, I'm absolutely gonna watch it again, probably like tomorrow. Because I haven't seen it in a really long time, and I have it. It's also streaming on Peacock. I The Stepfather and the Stepfather 2 are both on Peacock right now. I put on the Stepfather this morning just because I knew we were going to record this tonight, and I wanted a refresher, although I didn't actually pay attention to it at all. I started editing our episode about Frankenhooker with the headphones on instead of watching. Um, but when it ended, rather than just automatically starting The Stepfather Part 2, it started the original Prom Night, which seemed like a weird choice.
Huh. Yeah, that does seem like a weird choice.
Yeah, right?
Odd.
Um, I do also want to mention, and for those of you who have chosen to listen to this episode rather than to watch the video, which I will inevitably post, you won't be able to appreciate this amazing vest that I'm wearing right now. but I feel like we need to talk about it because it's awesome and because it relates to a pretty cool thing that happened, which I feel like I might just take an opportunity to boast about slightly if our listeners don't mind. And if they do, shut up. So, this vest that I'm wearing, as you can see, if you are looking at this video, is a gorgeous pink vest with green monkey faces on it, which is a custom fabric that I had made and then made into this vest because I wanted a very special outfit for a very special occasion, which has occurred recently. Um, Last fall, I entered a contest. Uh, Petco Love Foundation is an organization that does pet rescue, and they, I guess, work through the Petco stores. They also have a sponsorship promotion deal with Bob's from Skechers, and together they sponsor this thing every year where people enter videos about the importance of a relationship between people and rescue animals. And uh, we had such a story. And I entered this story about having adopted our dog Gus from the Pendleton Animal Welfare Shelter in Pendleton, Oregon. We adopted Gus a week after my dog passed away, and on the same day as my partner's first appointment at the Eastern Oregon Cancer Center. It was this whole thing, and I made this video and I entered it into this promotion contest, whatever you want to call it. Look, here's the thing. Here's what the prize is. This is what matters is the prize. Um, the prize is they pick about 2 dozen winners every year, and among these 2 dozen winners, they distribute about $500,000 in grants for the shelters of their choice. And for us, obviously, it was pause. And so um we uh we won one. Uh there are the two top prizes every year are $100,000 grant and a $50,000 grant. And we earned a $50,000 grant for the shelter in Pendleton, which I I don't have a sense of what that amount of money will mean for them, but they're a small shelter that works really, really hard, and there are a lot of odds against them in their situation, and I really admire what they do, and I I wish that I was emotionally strong enough to do the kind of work that they are doing. Uh, just seeing what they share on social media is uh like cripplingly heartbreaking. It's they are working so hard all the time. I don't want to get into the details of what they have to fucking deal with, but holy shit, Ted. Um, an example that is not too horrifying. They started staying open late sometimes on Fridays so that people would have a greater opportunity to meet and adopt animals after what are normal business hours for people who work. And during the first one of those events, they got a call because someone saw someone dumping a dog over the fence at the shelter during the event. They dumped a dog, right?
That's nuts.
This is the level of insanity that they are coping with. And I always wish I could do more. I'm not a person with means really, and once in a while when they have had specific needs for animals that are in medical trouble, I've done my a little bit what I can to donate to those fundraisers. But when I saw what Petco Love was doing, I saw an opportunity to maybe just roll the dice. It could happen. It's a long shot that I could do something beyond what would normally be possible for me to accomplish. And holy shit, it worked. Like I can't rightly believe that it worked. And I'm really I'm proud. I am proud of myself. That's I'm just gonna say it. I'm not the greatest at saying that. I am proud of myself. I did a good thing. And you know what? I do it again, Ted.
You did well, Matt. You did well. And I really I love the story, and it's a great story to be able to tell. It's
And not for nothing, I made an amazing outfit for the event. And I threw the vest on today just to just to bring a little of that to the table. Um, I'm particularly proud of this little detail. I made some pinback buttons out of fabric scraps and then pinned them to the vest aligned with the pattern. So they look really weird and sort of like glistening drops of resin. I love it. Also the lining. You can go, you used to be able to go to the fabric store and get like a yard of fabric that has like a pre-printed pattern for a stuffed animal toy that you can make out of that fabric.
yep.
I found one of those at the thrift store and just used it to line my vest. So it's got pieces of a frog wearing a pink polka dot smock.
What
Yeah, so you know what? I'm proud of my vest too. I'm just gonna be smug about all sorts of shit today.
you get to do that sometimes.
I don't indulge that often, but you know what? It was a rare opportunity. That I don't expect that to come around again. So so I'm very glad, and I am going to enjoy that it happened. We took Gus to the Petco in Kennewick, Washington, which is a couple hours away for the event, and he was a very good boy. It was a pretty uh, disruptive uh, thing to happen to Gus, for whom we have worked very hard to build a predictable routine because he is not the calmest fellow. He's been through a lot, you know. He was dumped somewhere, he was adopted by someone else, he got hit by a car, he went back to the shelter. So he's been through some stuff and we work with him and so it was a long ass day for him. He does great in the truck for the most part, but he does not relax. So he was alert the whole time from when we left at like 8:30 in the morning till we got home around 3. He was on, but he was a good boy. Um there were, he had to deal with some people at the event. He was pretty cool. He freaked out just a little bit when the folks that he knew from the shelter showed up. I was prepared for that to be a thing because, it he only associates them with a place he definitely doesn't want to go back to, and we've just driven hours from home. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I was not surprised that he was not necessarily happy to see them at first, but he was reassured. He made peace with them. He took treats. We made it clear that Nobody was being handed over. By the time we
That's
left,
kind of
he
critical.
was ready to go, but he was a good boy. And it probably isn't going to happen again.
Well, if it does, that'll be great.
Yes, absolutely. I will not apologize if I somehow cause another grant to happen. But yeah, that was it was a very cool it was a very cool thing to be a part of. And I hope that it does a lot of good for them. They're always full, man. I it's not going to make more people be responsible pet owners. But hopefully it will give them more opportunities to save more animals somehow and to keep things going because it is a constant battle. And I don't know how they do it. And I would save all of the dogs and live in a giant castle on an island if I could do that. No one has given me that chance. If you see anything about that as a thing I can apply for, please let me know. Had we may have strayed a bit from the movie.
Well, that's okay. We needed to have that plug in there, right?
I am not sorry. I'm going to be smug about it anyway. But yeah, do you have any more thoughts about the movie?
Honestly, no. There's not even a reason to ask what is this movie actually about? Because it's actually about being a serial killing freaking
It's
stepfather.
yeah, it's really I mean it is solid and it I'm glad that it holds up. I have revisited it not frequently over the years, but it has always stayed with me as a thing that I would recommend to people if they're just looking for something like just kind of unexpected that they haven't seen before because it's a bit obscure. It's not unknown. I mean, they did remake it even in like 2009 or something. Um, it's I I know I saw it at some point we had it at the store. I do not remember it. It wasn't memorable like this. Like this one has stayed with me. And I feel like every part of this just kind of holds together. It never overreaches. It understands the scale of the story that it's telling and it does a really great job. And it's got a solid cast of that's led by Terry O'Quinn in a role that correctly just led to his continued rise to conquer Canada, like we all will eventually, I guess. That's on the agenda now, Ted.
Hey, sometimes you just have to expand your borders.
Um, but really, the reason I brought this movie up is I'm not sure. I was thinking about Canadian movies that I love not related to the fact that we are currently ruled by a mad dictator who has a wild hair up his ass about Canada. Uh, I'm not sure exactly what got me thinking about it specifically. The reason I can't pinpoint it is because I am constantly, Ted, constantly watching science fiction shows filmed in Canada, like all the fucking time. Um, Not like current ones necessarily, but I have a huge collection of Canadian, mostly sci-fi shows on DVD. Um, I was recently watching Eureka. I was recently watching Poltergeist: The Legacy. I was recently watching the 90s remake of The Outer Limits. All of these shows that I love that are Canadian. I feel like most of them probably had Terry O'Quinn in them. Everybody who's ever been on Stargate is in all of these shows. Uh, I I love me some Canadian sci-fi. I just started rewatching the the 1988-ish War of the Worlds TV series that they
Good
did.
God, I haven't thought about that since 1988.
Right? Right? Filmed in Toronto. Uh yeah, I started because I watched an episode of Knight Rider that guest starred the main actor from fucking War of the Worlds. And I was like, "Oh God, it's Dr. Harrison Blackwood." And so then I had to watch me a couple episodes of that War of the Worlds show. It's garbage. I love it. It's very, very enjoyable. Um but yeah, there's a lot of really excellent Canadian TV out there that I love, and so I thought maybe we should put together a run of some interesting Canadian movies, most of which are going to be probably a little bit supernatural, but I didn't want to miss Stepfather, and one more Terry O'Quinn movie that I'm gonna thrust at you next, which is called Pin, a Plastic Nightmare. And then that is going to dovetail into Cube because the actor David Hewlett is in both of those movies, who many eagle-eyed viewers will recognize as Dr. Rodney McKay from many, many, many episodes of Stargate SG-1 and also Stargate Atlantis. Ha ha! Take that.
All right. Well,
He
I
was
guess we have
also he was also in an episode of Canadian produced Friday the 13th, the series, which was on right around the same time as War of the Worlds.
I've never heard of that one.
Oh, that's a special one. It has
We might
nothing at
actually
all.
don't tell me a goddamn thing.
No,
We might have to just
nothing to
need
do
more
with Friday
blinds
the
into the whole
13th.
series.
I love it. You might once if you see it, you might be like, "Oh, right, I sort of remember this shit."
I absolutely doubt that that is a thing.
You know
If
who got me to watch it in the day was our Aunt Patty. She was the one who told me I had to check it out. And um it's fun. It's brilliant garbage. And yeah, you'll recognize the format as something that has been utilized in other things as well, but it's a bit of a joy. Canada was trying some interesting like serialized horror television. And I bring it up with War of the Worlds because that was at the time like pretty gory for like American broadcast TV. It is not it's super tame by today's standards, obviously, but it was pretty goopy, and TV wasn't really doing that at the time. And Friday the 13th, the series, while not being related to the movies, was also attempting to kind of push boundaries a little bit with what you could do with horror and horror adjacent storytelling on TV in the States. It was good stuff. But yeah, so some Canadian gems that I would like to examine. And this I feel like it's pretty straightforward for my taste. Uh, but that's why I wanted to. I mean, I don't want to do this one in the middle. Like, you don't want to suddenly go back to the Stepfather, but
no,
you don't want to miss the Stepfather because it's fucking awesome. And I just want to like tell people, look, if you haven't watched this shit, you should because it's really good. And it stars Terry O'Quinn, Canada's favorite American. Final thoughts.
I my final thoughts is I would vote for him as Canada's favorite American.
Oh my God, I would vote for him as president. I mean, he's like 72. He probably doesn't want to be president. Most sane people wouldn't at that point. And he seems probably like he's sane. Poor guy.
Does he?
I hope that he has the good sense to utilize his connections to slip off to Canada while he's got a chance. I feel like Canada would protect him.
They might.
Him, you know, also Richard Dean Anderson, I bet.
I know that name, and now I'm just getting embarrassed.
Well, I mean MacGyver, but
Ah, there we go.
more
That one.
importantly, Colonel Jack O'Neill from Stargate SG-1. He's he's the guy that replaced Kurt Russell and did a better job than Kurt Russell.
Well, it was Kurt Russell.
I like Kurt Russell. I don't have a problem with him, but I loved Richard Dean Anderson in that role. He was much better. I mean, they had to kind of change the character, I guess, to make him more Richard Dean Anderson.
They had to do a lot, but
Well,
the show was better than the movie.
the movie is starts with him about to kill himself. So they
Yeah.
they they kind of like they have to sort of back away from that for the show. Like it can't be they can't start every episode with him holding a gun to his head. Be like, well, is this gonna be the day? That that
Actually, that could be a really good gag
but it's not
if
very
you made it comic.
Canadian. Not very Canadian, Ted. And
Well,
it's all about Canada. Terrio, Canada. I mean O'Quinn, sorry. All right, I guess that's all I got. This is a movie that I really enjoy, and I think that it is a shining, beautiful gift from our Canadian neighbors, and we should thank them for it, and we should continue to harvest Canada's natural resources like the next movie on our list and not just steal their natural resources like wants to do. Oh, Canada.
or I mean, we could have a little bit of Ren and Stimpy with the Canadian Kilted Yaxman.
I, you know, I actually did go after our conversation the other day. I did go and watch a few episodes of Old Red and Stimpy, and I had to like get in the right mindset because again, like
Yeah.
knowing that John Christophilou is a fucking
Yep.
monster,
Yep.
it's a little hard. But I stuck to like literally like the ones that were airing when I first found them when I was in school and uh it just they hit this like really particular note of nostalgia and I was like able to disconnect long enough to kind of revisit those feelings that I had had. But I like I can't stick with it that long because he's a piece of shit, and
Yep.
it sucks that he ruins his own stuff by being such a piece of shit. Um, what are you gonna do? But I had to watch Stimpy's Invention, Ted. That's really what it came down to. Is I needed to see the happy helmet. I needed to see Ren's smile be gripped by the tractor beam and yanked up to the beeping antenna bits. It's great. It holds. It's just it's excellent. It's hilarious. Um,
It is.
it's
I haven't
sad
seen that
that
in so long.
yeah, it sucks that he's a monster. But that is a hilarious episode of Ren and Stimpy. Yeah. I think that they actually make doesn't they continue to make episodes of Ren and Stimpy after John Kay left the series, I believe. Um, it might be emotionally worth tracking those down just to feel like I could watch Ren and Stimpy without considering John Christophilou. Everyone, John Christophilou is a monster. I'm not gonna go into details, but look it up if you don't believe me. He sucks. He sucks super hard.
It's true.
Well, I'm glad to bring us down to that.
So this it has been Depot Devoid, and this has not been about the movie Stepfather.
It has been all over the place. Yeah. Sorry for not staying on topic. But you know what you should do is watch The Stepfather instead of having one. Because if you have one, he's gonna fucking serial kill you guys. That's what mine does. He's like, you want you think John Christopher-Lucy's a piece of shit? My stepfather, our stepfather, he's a literal serial killer. He serial kills everybody all the time. That guy, he cannot get enough of fucking serial killing. Like, you remember how much like we watched Frankenhooker. Um, do you remember how much whores love crack? You remember that?
I do.
That is how much our stepfather loves serial killing. It's almost unbelievable, and yet totally true. Ba 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 ba.
Well played.
Well, I love you, Ted.
I love you too, Matt.
Next time we're gonna get even more weird and Canadian, if you can
Sounds like
believe
a
it. Try not to get serial killed before that happens.
I'll give it a go.
Until next time.
Until next time.
The Depot Devoid is that place your mind goes when you've lost your train of thought, but you haven't found a new one. The Depot Devoid podcast is hosted by Matt Fagan and Ted Fagan. Depot Devoid is not hosted by Ian Fagan, because he died, and we miss him. Find our full video episodes at Depot Devoid Podcast on YouTube. On social media, you can find us at Depot Devoid Podcast on Blue Sky, and for now, still on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can email us at depotdevoidpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can listen to the show on all of your favorite podcast platforms.